I've gotten so many new books over the course of autumn and this beginning of winter, so let's talk about them. New books, library books, used books. I also have some DVDs to talk about. This is a whole physical media whole, right, Daisy? Hi, I'm Olivia. This is AV Club, where I'm usually talking about lit fic, horror books, weird books, whatever I want to talk about. So I'm so happy you're here. Welcome if you're new. Okay, starting with new books, Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. This you have probably seen everywhere, including this channel. I have already read this book. I read it in May and already reviewed it there in my wrap up there. But I really was planning to do like a standalone review for this. I don't think it's going to happen at this point, this far away. Um, More interesting to me are that I've started reading some takes on this, and whoof, there are some takes on this. And I don't want to say that people are missing the point, but if you're unfamiliar with this book, it is about a trad wife influencer who wakes up one day in this bizarro world where it seems like she is in the land of yesteryear and having to do things in a much different way than being able to be online and get things shipped to her and be making money on Instagram, but having to actually do all of the chores and all of the responsibilities and lack of power that comes with living in the land of yesteryear. An Australian crime psychological thriller like Follow Die by Ashley Calagian Blunt. Calagian Blunt. Um, this I would not have picked up based off of this cover. I think this is truly one of the covers of all time, and not one of the best of all time, just a cover of all time. But then it was on sale at the bookstore, and so I actually read the description on the back, and I was like, okay, that actually does sound very interesting. That it was supposed to be kind of the Australian response to adolescence. It's about how young boys can get radicalized online, and I didn't find that it was like the most nuanced take, and the stuff that was written from the teenage boy's perspective didn't really ring true for me. But overall, I felt like it was a very effective kind of 3-star crime thriller and did deal with some real issues. So yeah, not the greatest of all time, but yeah, definitely a 3-star for me. Not great, not bad, definitely better than this cover would lead you to believe. And always keen to read some Australian set thrillers that aren't rural thrillers or suburban thrillers. Like, it was very much about living in Sydney and the different neighborhoods in Sydney and boys' schools there and a lot of the social atmosphere there. Okay, and then on to my library books. Apron Sorrow Sovereignty by Natalie Harkin. This was a book that I put on reserve because it was on the Stella Prize long list. And so I put it on reserve a long time ago. I don't know that I am actually going to have time to read and sit with this right now. It's described as an archival poetic reckoning. It is mixed media, so there's art, there's photographs. I believe it is nonfiction and poetic writing mixed together. There appears to be real interviews in there. Creative work for sure. It says Apron Sorrow Sovereignty evokes an embodied reckoning with Aboriginal women's domestic labor and servitude, drawing from oral history and the state's official record, and intergenerational stories that span loss, love, sorrow, solidarity, resistance, and refusal. So I don't this might be getting returned to the library right now. I don't know that it's going to fit in my July TBR, and there's probably other people that are on the waiting list. Whenever you put something on reserve at the library here, they'll just like automatically check it out for you. The way that I've done it before is like they would hold it for you, and if you didn't check out in a couple days, they would not check it out to you and just return it to the shelf, but they automatically check it out for pick up outside here, which is interesting. And so it was already checked out to me. So I was like, I'll just go ahead and pick it up and at least be able to flip through it, see when might be a good time to read it. So probably not soon. And it might be a while before you see this book on the channel again. Same goes for The Girls Before by Kate Alice Marshall. Maybe I will read this in July. However, I don't know. I've already started cooking up a July TBR, which includes like my Jalo July reads, as well as some arcs that I need to get to. So maybe I've read a thriller from Kate Alice Marshall before that I really liked. What Lies in the Woods is the one that I have read, and this one has a very intriguing appeal to it. There's a girl in a basement, the door has stopped opening, the light is gone. Stranger is trapped in the dark with only her imagination and the scribbles on the wall left by long dead girls to keep her company. Nearly out of food and water, she makes one last attempt to escape. But if the door opens at last, will it mean salvation or only the beginning of her fight to survive? And then on the other side, Audrey is a search and rescue expert who's never stopped looking for her best friend who disappeared. There's a local legend of a forest witch. So, not really sure if it's going to end up being more folk horror or if it is more psychological thriller. I'm not sure. It does sound really intriguing to me, so I would like to get to it, but will I get to it in July? To be determined. Before I get into my many used books that I need to talk about, apparently I lied. There was a CD. Destiny's Child Survivor was the only CD that I picked up in the past couple months. So we'll be very happy to have this once I get a CD player working again. Okay, I know I have talked about the Book Barn here before, but honestly, it is always an incredible shopping experience there. All of these books were priced at 1 to 3 Australian dollars, which is, 75 cents to 2 something dollars American. So very cheap for all of these, including books that look completely brand new or are vintage hardcovers in good quality. It's just what a great time. Let's talk about them. The Mystery Writer by Sulari Gentile. This is an Australian mystery writer. I've read from her before, and it was before I even knew that she was Australian. I think it was called The Woman in the Library. It is also blurbed by Benjamin Stevenson, and my family of everyone in my family has killed someone, who I've read all of that series. Love him. I've seen him talk twice. He's a wonderful, funny human being. But I'm always looking for more Australian mystery, thriller, horror, etc. So happy to have this one. It seems like all of her mysteries revolve in some way about writing and books, which is interesting to me. Theo has one dream: to become a best selling author. Determined to make her mark in the literary world, she heads to the US on a whim to stay with her brother Gus and focus on her writing. But her plans take an unexpected turn when she befriends a famous author, Dan Murdoch, at a local bar, and then he turns up dead. Suddenly, Theo finds herself as the prime suspect. Not necessarily the most grabbing premise or something that sounds completely new. However, I love a mystery, and I love a mystery whenever it's about books and writing, so I think that this will be a good fit at some point. Another Australian author, Love Objects by Emily Maguire. This cover is beautiful. I had checked out a book that looks very similar to this by Emily Maguire, Rapture, I think, which was on the Stella Prize long list last year. I don't think I even read the description to this. Nick is a 45-year-old trivia buff, amateur nail artist, and fairy godmother to the neighborhood's stray cats. She sounds similar to myself. She's also the owner of a decade's worth of daily newspapers, enough clothes and shoes to fill Big Dub 3 times over, and a pin collection which, if laid end to end, would probably circle her house twice. The person she's closest to in the world is her beloved niece Lena, who she meets for lunch every Sunday. One day, Nick fails to show up. When Lena travels to her aunt's house to see if Nick's alright, she gets the shock of her life. A clear-eyed, heart-wrenching, and deeply compassionate novel. There will be a time for this at some point. I love reading a novel about women's relationships, and Aunt and Niece is one that I haven't read before, I don't think. I've been so lucky finding weird novelizations of books at the Book Barn. The novelization of Tron. Will I ever want to read the novelization of Tron? That is certainly a question, but gosh, I love this movie, and I just love having these books as like a moment of movie and book history. I don't know. I don't think they do novelizations like they used to, but yeah, I think that's wonderful. The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I read The Maidens by him before. I think it's the only one I've read. I don't think I've read The Silent Patient whatever else he had going on. This one is a thriller about seven of us on the island. One of us was a murderer on an idyllic private Greek island with a movie star. Not a I forget what these mysteries are called. Not a locked room, but like an isolated setting. Those kind of, and then there were none settings appeal to me a lot, especially like on a little getaway island. Maybe I'll read this whenever it starts to get warmer, or maybe sooner if I want to feel warmer. Lapvona by Otessa Moshfegh. I was so pleased to find a hardcover of this. I have an interesting story about Lapvona. Dark medieval rural novel. I, I don't exactly know what it's about, but I actually saw her talking about this book by complete accident. I was visiting Austin, Texas, and I went to Book People just to shop around, and she was having a talk upstairs, and it was already all sold out, but you could still go up to the top floor to look at books. And so I was just like slowly perusing around the outside perimeter of the upstairs and just like looking over at the talk whenever I could, because it was like one of those things where you had to buy a copy to go. But and I would have done it if it hadn't already been sold out. But I got to see her talk about this book by complete accident and also a little bit illicitly. My Year of Rest and Relaxation is the only thing that I've read by her so far, but this one, I love a medieval novel. Medieval? I think it's medieval. Yeah. But I love a medieval story, and there's something about this one that just calls to me. Masters of Doom by David Kushner is about the creators of the video game Doom, which I love, John Carmack and John Romero. Interestingly enough, Doom was accidentally kind of made in my hometown, which not a lot of people know about that history. It was something that I found out as an adult. It was something never publicized in my city's history, but yeah, just very close to downtown Shreveport. Doom was first made while they were working at a local programming place, computer place. I don't remember exactly. Foster by Claire Keegan. I didn't even look at what this one was about yet. I have only read small things like the I've only read small things like these before, which I must have read during a Shorty September. And whenever I saw this, I was thinking, well, I'll read that during a Shorty September as well. I love that Claire Keegan is like, for whatever reason, the only person that gets to, sell books these size, basically like long short stories. How long is this even? About 80 pages. This one is also set in rural Ireland, about a child being taken by her father to live with relatives on a farm, not knowing when or if she will be brought home again. So it really could be about anything, but I think it will be formally beautiful. I think it will be emotional. I just think that this is kind of like the perfect read for Shorty September. I love having a book this length waiting for me. What a treat. Okay, I still have this whole pile of books behind me to talk about. Agatha Christie, The 13 Problems. I want to slowly collect Agatha Christie books, and there's so many gorgeous covers, and this one I love. I love this rainbow on this padlock, and it is in such good quality. It is just like one of the best quality vintage books that I have, especially from Agatha Christie, because they're usually very loved and beaten up when I find them. This one is a Miss Marple. I don't think I've read any Miss Marple books yet. 13 masterpieces of crime matched by Miss Marple's magnificent detection. So are there 13 different mysteries in this, or is it 13 mysteries that all revolve around one big mystery? To be found out. Agatha Christie, The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. I think this will be perfect to read at Christmas time. I feel like I've heard not great things about this one, that people don't really love this one as much, but I love the idea of Hercule Poirot and the Christmas pudding, and don't he has found a cryptic note in his bedroom. Don't eat none of the plum pudding, one who wishes you well. But since when had plums had anything to do with this Christmas pudding? I don't know. Could be about anything, but I love having mysteries to read at Christmas time. That is just like a match made in heaven to me. Speaking of which, another Christmas set English mystery, An English Murder by Cyril Hare, first published in 1951, a golden age classic set on Christmas Eve. The snow is thick, the phone line is down, and no one is getting in or out of Warbeck Hall. With friends and family gathered round the fire, all should be set for a perfect Christmas, but as the bells chime midnight, a murder takes place. I need a whole English Christmas mystery set of books, a TBR to read at Christmas time. So if you have any others to recommend, please let me know. Last year I read Peter Swanson's whatever that one is set at Christmas time, The Christmas Guest, maybe is what it's called. And I enjoyed that one. I would love to have more to read. I also read the Train mystery last year. Maybe I read that Peter Swanson Christmas before last. But yeah, definitely love a Christmas set mystery to read. Paul Murray's The Bee Sting. This is an Irish family saga, a big chunk of a book. I don't know when I will read this. Actually, the reason I picked it up is I saw it on the shelf thinking, gosh, not today. I don't know when I'll read that. And then I walked around the book barn for a while and my partner came up to me and he had picked this one up. And I was like, okay, I guess today is the day to pick it up. Again, don't know when I will read it because that is kind of intimidating for me, especially for a family saga and for the first book that I've read by someone. So if you have read this, please let me know what is the hook to get into it. I want to hear your pitch. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmas. Also, my partner picked this one up, but it does sound interesting. And I know that there's like a mini series or a television show or a movie or something that goes along with this, or is an adaptation of this, not goes along with this. But it's about a chemist who has to resign from her all male team at a research institute in the early 1960s and instead signs on as the host of a cooking show that is chemistry led in style. I think that that is a really interesting premise. And for whatever reason, I feel so bad to even say this, is that for whatever reason, I thought this was like the same as those girls in STEM romance novels. I didn't realize that it was not a romance novel. And it sounds really interesting to me. I haven't looked up any reviews or heard anyone talk about this. I know it's massively popular. Like, I know there are reviews. I just haven't read any of them. But it sounds fabulous, honestly. And Blurred by Nigella Lawson. So, A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. The Book Barn is where I pick up all of my thrillers, so they're all like a couple of years behind when other people have read them. But this one is about a woman whose father is a serial killer. He was convicted and jailed when she was 12, but the bodies of the girls were never found. This is why I picked it up, because they were seemingly lost in the surrounding Louisiana swamps. And now she's a now now she's a respected psychologist in Baton Rouge, and the past is creeping up on her. I have never read a book set in Baton Rouge, and I lived in Baton Rouge for 6 years and obviously lived in the Louisiana swamps for even longer. So I am excited to read this and see if I think that it paints Louisiana accurately or not. Baton Rouge was spooky. Um, Baton Rouge is not Louisiana swamps vibes. It's very much concrete. So I'm curious, will this take me back to the real and true horrible Baton Rouge of my memory, or a different horrible Baton Rouge? The Turnout by Megan Abbott. This is also a thriller, and a thriller that is set at a ballet school, just at the onset of the school's annual performance of The Nutcracker. So, yeah, that's why I picked this up, thinking, oh, The Nutcracker. Maybe it's not set at Christmas time in this, but The Nutcracker is such a Christmas ballet to me. It was such a tradition for me and my mom to go see The Nutcracker at Christmas time as a kid. And so I was thinking maybe this could go in my Christmas TBR, because that's a little bit different for it to be set at a Christmas like time, even if it's not snow and literal Christmas and it's just kind of adjacent to it. I think that it sounds really interesting. This gorgeous cover of Cat Among the Pigeons by Agatha Christie, so wonderful. I think this might be set at a girls' school. Yeah, it's set at a exclusive girls' school in England when there is a murder and set up violence. This one is also a Poirot mystery. I think I will be reading this one for Jolly July, but I just think that that is absolutely stunning. It's in such good quality. And again, yeah, got it for like $2 American. So how is that even possible? Beloved by Toni Morrison. I've wanted to read this book for so long. It's crazy that I haven't. I've read so much Toni Morrison, but never read Beloved. It was always waiting for me to get to. I always thought that I would be able to get like a more beautiful cover. Like, I don't, this cover doesn't really speak to me. It just seems like such a popular book that you would have options, but I'd rather just like have this on my shelf waiting for me to read whenever I want to rather than just like waiting for a day to get a beautiful cover. If I see one with a cover I like later, I can always get that and then donate this. So really no harm, no foul, but now I have it. I just can't believe that I haven't read this yet, but I'm so excited that I still get to read this. My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. I don't even remember what I read by Samantha Downing before. This is apparently her debut, so I can't look and see what I did read from her before or even remember if I especially liked it, but I just love having thrillers on my shelf waiting for me. This one I think is a domestic thriller. It's talking about a marriage that has secrets. Your wife isn't perfect, but neither are you. But now a serial killer's on the loose in your small town, preying on young women. You have a young daughter. What's going on with the wife? I don't know. It sounds like a lot of the elements are in a lot of thrillers, but I will definitely get to it at some point. And this is a thriller that I've actually specifically heard a lot about. The Quiet Tenant by Clémence Miquelon, hardworking family man and respected member of his community who's also a kidnapper and serial killer. And now he has a ninth woman imprisoned in his backyard shed where she fears for her life. I don't really need more than that to be intrigued by it. And I've heard so many people rave about this one as being like one of the best thrillers in a while, and actually being surprising. So I am very keen to read it because a lot of the thrillers that I've just hauled, like I know won't surprise me and will definitely be like a 3-star read. But this one has possibility to actually surprise me. They don't always have to surprise me though to serve their purpose. But I am especially looking forward to this one. Okay, I think I've finally gotten through all of my books. I also found these that were sitting behind me. I thought it was just Daisy behind me, but no. Truman Capote in Cold Blood. Isn't this one like a cool cover? I think I might read that during Jolly July as well. This really cool Midsummer Night's Dream from Shakespeare Head Press, Sydney. I think that one looks really cool. Yeah, $1 for this. Like, obviously it's like not the nicest copy to read, but I just think that is so cool. And I've actually never read this one before. Diner at the Night Library by Hika Harada. I have a couple of books now that are about like library. They're like the cozy Korean or cozy Japanese books. And maybe I'll read a couple of those together. Love this cover. And then Lauren Groff Matrix. I haven't read anything by Lauren Groff yet, but this one is a sapphic period book as well with a blurb by Sarah Waters, so you know that I am interested in that. I think that sounds fabulous. I think that looks fabulous. Like, what a beautiful book. And I think that is actually all it now. Thanks. So let me just go through the DVDs that I've gotten, DVDs and Blu-rays in the past couple months. James Bond, Dr. No. This is the first James Bond movie. It's come to my attention that my partner has not seen a single James Bond movie before the Pierce Brosnan ones, and they were my childhood favorite movies. I loved playing the video games, and I guess that's why I got interested in the characters. But whenever there would be marathons of it at Thanksgiving and Christmas time on Spike TV, me and my brothers would watch them all the time. So I have seen all of them, and I haven't watched them in many, many years, but they're so nostalgic for me. I can't wait to watch them again. Mad Max. I had gotten Mad Max 2, Australian classic film, something I need to have on the shelves and probably something I could watch basically any time. David Lynch's Dune. Obviously, I would be so pleased to have every David Lynch movie, and so hopefully I do find them at some point. Another Australian classic, Moulin Rouge. I haven't watched this in years either, but loved watching this one in high school. Spirit, Stallion of the Summer one, this was mega platinum whenever I was maybe 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old. I would come home from school every single day and put this on for a while. Like, it was intense. I had an intense relationship with this movie, as I think a lot of people around my age, a lot of girls around my age did. A Blu-ray of Breakfast at Tiffany's. This was my favorite movie for years during middle school, and I would also watch this all the time. So I'm happy to have a Blu-ray copy of it. Glad that I put off buying all of the just DVDs that I've seen of it for a while. But I was such a huge Audrey Hepburn stan, as again, I think many women around my age were. The favorite, oh my gosh, I loved this movie when it came out. I saw it as a double feature at the local movie theater in my hometown whenever I was home for Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I saw it back to back with Mary Queen of Scots. I saw Mary Queen of Scots first, thank God, because that movie was not very good. And then I saw this, which I was like obsessed with. I love a weird, dark, uh sapphic obsession, plots and intrigue and scheming and a period piece. Olivia Colman, just love this movie and so happy to have it on Blu-ray. Who bought this on Blu-ray and gave it up so soon? Amelie, I'm very intrigued by the Dindy. I don't know. Dindy is a cinema in Sydney. So were they do they publish things? I don't That's something I don't really know a lot about yet. Obviously, I had a copy of this also in high school, but I didn't bring any of my DVDs from home with me. I brought some of my Criterion Blu-rays, but there's just like so much that I left behind. So happy to have this back on the shelves. Another James Bond, The Living Daylights. This is Timothy Dalton. I don't remember them all like specifically, like the plots of these. There was definitely some that I watched more than others. So what exactly happened in The Living Daylights, I don't remember. I usually have to like remember the girl or the villain, and I don't even see who the villain in this one is. I remember this one having a good theme song though. I always loved the theme songs and the intro cinematics. They were just like such a experience. Christmas Vacation, a Christmas classic that I have never seen. So I was happy to see it, because maybe now it can be a Christmas classic for me as well. I don't know how I've avoided watching this movie for so many years, but I have, and this Christmas will rectify that. Speaking of movies that kind of hard to believe I've never seen, but Titanic I've never seen, and now I have a Blu-ray, apparently a 3D Blu-ray. Um, how will we watch the 3D? Probably won't be able to. But yeah, I've never seen this movie. It always had the vibe to me once I was an adult and could access it myself, because as a kid you have very limited means to buy movies. Different now with streaming and everything like that. But once I had the means to buy movies, it was like, well, I know what happens at the end, and I've seen so many of these moments from pop culture history that it's what is the mystery left to find out. But so many people love this movie. I do think that it will have something to offer me even after having known so much about it throughout pop culture history. So happy to have that. One of the best movies of all time, Paddington. Hopefully I find this in Blu-ray someday, and hopefully I find, the best movie of all time, Paddington 2, also someday. But gosh, I love this little boy, and yeah, I could watch this any day. Paddington makes me smile, laugh, cry. We rewatched this maybe on Christmas Day last year, and it was like from the opening moments, I was just crying through the whole movie. There's something about that bear, and like this movie still looks so good, it's crazy. And especially now that I'm an immigrant, me and Paddington are cut from the same cloth, I think. And then this beautiful collection of Sailor Moon. I have not watched Sailor Moon in so long. It was really the only anime that I ever watched like as a child, like something that would come on Toonami and I would really want to watch the whole thing of. Like I would catch bits of Dragon Ball Z and other things, but Sailor Moon was definitely my jam in ways that other things weren't. And it's just like still so, so beautiful. Like the color palettes for everything, like that one with Tuxedo Mask, like, oh my gosh, the colors are just so incredible and inspiring for me. I could definitely just have this on even in the background and it'd be a pleasant experience. So I'm not sure how many books and DVDs that was. Obviously, I love going to the library and that's still where I get a lot of my books, but just like, I don't know, it's like such a treasure finding adventure to find vintage books in such great quality and surprising books, things that I didn't think I would pick up but are just going to live in my shelves and look at me till I do read them. Hopefully, you enjoyed looking at them too. And thank you for being here. I will be back to talk about books again very soon. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. And until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye. You were hiding books, weren't you? I love you, baby.